Welcome to Yeshiva Daf, Shir sponsor Lunishvas. I'm Yaakov Shalom and Lab Sitzchok. We're holding in Metzia Daf Samach Dalid. We're starting to have Samach Gimel with base in the bottom, the two dots. Says the Gemara, Lomar Nachman, Ayman de Oizi Pshiti Mechavrei. Someone borrowed money from his friend, Ve'ashker Bei to find him. And then he finds out, he sees in it, that there's more money. The one who gets the money sees that there's more money than what he agreed upon. If you're saying that the lender made a mistake, he miscalculated, so then you have to give it back because the lender said, I'm going to lend you $100. I'm not going to lend you 105, 104. So if there's more, you have to give it back. That's not part of the agreement. It was a mistake. But if not, if not, I assume it's a gift. Even though he says, because the loan was $100. I found the 104. The extra 4 is a gift. So what's the case? What's the case? What is the definition that in a mistake that you're saying that you have to give it back? Explained, meaning tens and fives. People count their money based in tens and fives. It's a 10, a 20, 30, and then you have fives. So if you have 15, says Rashi, that's 3 fives, 25, 5 fives. You count the number of tens and number of fives. So if you have an extra 10, an extra 5, that's a mistake. If it's singles, then it's not a mistake. So what happens to this guy? I know the guy. He's not a gift giver. He's not interested in giving a gift. So he probably is a mistake. Do you still take it? He says, you never know. Maybe this guy, this lender, he once stole money from this borrower. He wants to give it back, but he's embarrassed to give it back. So what he does is he says, I'm going to lend you $100. Gives 104. The 4 is the extra to cover the theft. The Tanya, we saw the Braiso. Someone stole from his friend and then give it back to him by putting the money within the cheshbon. Yotzo, he's yaitz, that's considered to be paying back. So maybe this is what happened. He says, okay. But what happened to this guy is he never dealt with him. This guy is a new person. He met him today for the first time. He never stole from him. Says maybe there's a third person who he's the thief. He stole money from the borrower. He tells the lender, do me a favor. You're going to lend the money. Stick in there a few more dollars because I want to pay for something that I stole. So that's why we're assuming that's fine. Assuming that's a cloud that this is considered to be, that he got a little bit more money. Not, this is considered to be a matan. So Rav Kana says a story. He says, I went to the shir of Rav, and at the end of the shir, Shabbos they call Mar Kori Kori. I came to the end of the shir, he's talking about gourds, pumpkins, gourds. He said the words Kori Kori. I don't know what he was talking about. I don't know what the shir was about, but I know he spoke about gourds. Also the comment after Rav finished the shir, I told the Talmidim, my Kori Kori to Kamar, what is Rav talking about? This is what Rav talking about. Hayman, they have Zuzi Legino Akori. Person goes to the gardener, he says, I want to buy pumpkins, and he gives them money for pumpkins. Because they have Saro Kori B'nei Zarto. And the way they buy it, they buy 10, but the size of the gourd to the pumpkins is the size of a zeris. It's a small amount, small size. And he says, no, but I want to have a larger size. B'nei Garmido, it's a larger size. So he wants to get bigger than Garmido is an Amo. I want to be bigger than one there is. So it knew if the bigger ones are there, shy, then it's fine. Late knew also, if now I have to wait for the gourds to grow, so that's the ribbis. He's right now paying for the amount. You pay 10 for small ones. And he says, I'm not going to take it right now, I'm going to take it later. You're paying me later. And for the value of the time, you're going to get larger gourds. So what's the chiddush? I would think that I am buying the gourds right now. It's not considered to be ribbis because it's not because of when I'm right now purchasing the gourds as they are. I'm just letting you hold on to them for them to grow. They're growing on their own. But the gourds already belong to the lender. It's not that the gourds are going to belong to the lender later in its ribbis. Immediately he gets the gourds. So Chiddush is that. So more Kiman. Says the Gemara Kiman Kaitan and Tanya, like in front of the Braiso. Someone is going to milk his goats and to shear the sheep. Or lirdus is kavarto and remove honey from his beehive. But so chaver v'omolem ma'she'izay chol voice mocher lechol ma'shercheli goyzus mocher lechol ma'shekavati roid mocher lechol. He says, you know what? Whatever I'm going to take out, it's sold to you. I don't know what it is. It's a risk. Could be a lot, could be a little. You pay me, you're going to get whatever is there. Mutter, that's mutter. It's not ribbis. He's not giving us a fixed amount. It's basically a little bit of a bet. We don't know what's going to be there. He gives him a specific amount. I'm going to give you 2 gallons of milk. He's giving a certain amount. So the Rashi's cheetah in the sugya here is that what's the problem? Problem is right now we're talking about there's not enough honey, and there's not enough milk, and there's not enough wool, but it will grow. So he says, you give me the money, and eventually I'll give you what grows. It will be more honey, it will be more milk. I give it to you. So then it's also. Even though it's growing on its own. So you see, growing on its own doesn't make a difference. It's not there right now, so it's also here. You talk about the pumpkins. He bought a small pumpkins. The larger pumpkins that come later is not there. That's considered to be ribbis. Some say the opposite. They grow on their own, it's fine. Tanya says, more the Brisa says, we spoke about the wool and the milk and the honey. You can't give if it's a specific amount. So also laminate karab with the shakle lelai. There, it's not the same thing. The milk that you're going to have more milk, it's not the same milk that was before. Before there was 1 gallon of milk. Then it'll be 2 gallons. The second gallon is all new. That's considered to be a new payment of ribbits. Same thing with the wool. We're not talking about small, we're talking about part of the wool grew, part of the wool did not grow. Same thing by the honey. Not all the honey was there. How do you know? You take what's there right now and more comes later. So it's new stuff. It's not part of the same thing we have right now. But here, by the gourd, it's the same pumpkin growing. You take the one out, nothing else grows. So it's the same one. It's not a new fruit. It's not that you're taking the raya from just to explain a little bit more of the wool. The wool, you can say, 1 second, just to correct what I said before. It's on the other here, even the same here. You have 1 inch of here. Now it's 2 inches. It's like 1 inch. It's nothing to do with the first inch. It's a new thing. Why? Because if I would cut up the first inch, the second inch would grow anyway. But the pumpkin, if I remove the pumpkin, if I remove the gourd, there's no new gourds come here. But the original gourd that was there, that grows. So the idea is, by a gourd, when I'm buying the small gourd, the gourd itself is growing. It's not a new thing I'm giving you. By the honey, by the milk, by the wool, something new that I'm giving you. Now, says the Gemara, Omar Abai, Shari lehinish, lo lemeimer lechaver. A person can tell his friend, hey lecharbos, was he used 4 zuz, achavit echal, I want to buy a barrel of wine. Eat tokva, simple understanding, tokva means get spoiled. Becomes vinegar, as Rashi says, imach metzis. Eat tokva, you get spoiled, b'shusach, it's gone for you. But if it increases or decreases in value, that's on me. In other words, I'll buy the barrel for 4. If it becomes more expensive or it loses value, that's on me. But if it gets spoiled, it's on you. That's fine. But here, he's probably more going to have a gain than a loss. Because if it gets spoiled, it's not his responsibility. All the problem is maybe it loses value. So he's closer to gain than to lose. And we can learn, come on. That the rule of ribbis, salisti ribbis, they're abundant. Whenever a person does a deal where its chances of making money are greater than losing money because of the ribbis, meaning the other party's taking some of the risk, he has only the upside, only very small part of the downside. It's ribbis. So here, that's the case. He says, no, it's not true. He's getting all the decrease in value. That's very common to happen. The wine loses value. The only loss doesn't have, it gets spoiled. So that's not considered to be ribis, and that works. That's the shear of Abai. Now, just to point out, what Tosis brings here basically two ha'oras that comes from Tosis and many other Rishaim. Number one is, says Tosis, what about the fact that we was here the Kinyan? We're doing a deal, right? Did he do Meshicha or he didn't do Meshicha? If he did Meshicha, it belongs to him. If he didn't do Meshicha, so what is it, Mishapara? What is it? So Tosis is bothered by that. It says, we're talking about Meshicha, and it's still going to be a problem. If the Mashiach Tosis won't say another answer, maybe that it's a din mishapara, and still the Tanai works. So that's one issue that we should discuss. The second thing Tosis asks is, I don't understand, if the wine goes spoiled, so it's a mekatos. I'm buying wine, which is good wine. Okay, increase and decrease in value, that's on me. But if it gets spoiled, it's a bad wine. So it's a bad wine, it's a mekatos. So Tosis in the end answers, we're not talking about getting spoiled. Spoiled meaning Mama's getting vinegar, like Rashi says. That, you're right, it's mekatos. We're talking about it's a natural aging of the wine when it doesn't age well. It goes a little bad. It's not completely spoiled. So that's part of the regular price, not mekatos, and that's why here the wine works. That's what it says in the second answer. Says the Gemara. Okay, very good. So let's zok the misht. Nu misht. Hamalve es chaveyor lo yidoy bechatzeroy chinam. Person goes and lends money to his friend, cannot go and live in his courtyard for free. Why? It looks like ribbis. Right? He's lending money, he's getting back his loan plus living in the hut. Also, don't rent it for a cheaper price. Be sure ribbis, that's ribbis. Says the Gemara, I will be sure what they said. Hadar b'chatzer chaver shuli midaitoy ain't tzech la'alois lo sacher. A person lives in the chutzner of his friend without his permission. We learn this in Pesachas Bava. Person goes to his friend's chutzner and lives there without permission. He doesn't have to pay him. Why does he have to pay him? Talking about, as we'll see in a moment, what the Gemara is going to say, talking about a chutzner which is not meant to be rented. So it's basically midas doing. Well, what do you care if someone lives there? So even if that's okay, even in a case where he's allowed to be there, if you lend him money and lives in his chutzner, has to pay him. Says the Gemara, my kavash, what's the chiddush? It's our mishnah. Person lends his friend, should not live in his friend's house for free. He should not have a cheaper rent, so if you just learn our mishnah, I would say Rabbi is talking about in a case where the chutzner is meant to be rented, and the person is renting his chutzner. So in this case, it's a real value that the lender is taking from the chutzner. It's, if he wanted be here, it's an Airbnb, we give it to somebody else. If the chutzner is not meant to be rented, and the person, the owner, is not renting it out, so there's no benefit coming from it, maybe that's okay. Kamashra, and then that's the chiddush. The chiddush is you can do it. You can enjoy and benefit even if the person is not losing anything from it. So, let's say first, before we get to the Tosis here, let's see the other side of the Gemara. You get that. I mean, some say, even a person lives in the house of his chutzner, of his friend, doesn't give a payment. Even if he said it in the loan, that was the loan language. Lend me money and I'll let you be in my chutzner. I have to pay for it. If he just lend it and then he wants to be in the chutzner, of course, alveni is a problem. But if it's part of the deal, it's a problem. But if a person lends someone else money, and then he says, by the way, 2 months later, by the way, I need a place to stay. I'm coming to town. Can I stay by your house? Of course you could. Because the loan wasn't with this das, that's not a problem. So Tosis here, so the first gear of the Gemara is you can't do it, you can't take it, even if it's not part of the loan agreement. The second one is only if it's a loan agreement. It says Tosis according to the first one. So you want to tell me a lender cannot do any favors to his friend? I mean, the borrower cannot do any favors? Can lend him something to use? Anything he can do? So Tosis says two answers. Answer number one is, of course, he can do things which is not avshamil. So things that people do quietly, you can do. But something which everybody sees, that's a problem. Someone living in someone else's chutzner, people know about it. That's the first answer Tosis says. And another answer is, we talk about here, they deny his permission. So the lender is sneaking into the chutz of his friend. So you say, that seems to be something which the lender is taking advantage because he has a loan. But if the borrower gives it to him willingly, that's okay. So, two interesting answers. The Torah says, can a borrower do favors to the lender? And maybe we'll get back to it a little later in the parak. Says the Gemara, Rav Yosef bar Chama, he was a lender. So people owed him money. He took the avodim as collateral. And then he worked them while they were in his possession. He made them work. My time over Marach, his son asked him, "Why are you doing that?" An Eved is not worth his stomach, meaning Eved is not worth what he does. So I took the work that Eved does is basically worthless. So I'm making it work. It's not considered to be that I'm actually getting a benefit from the slave. And as Rashi explained, I have to feed him. So what you work is in exchange of feeding him, and really what he does has no value. When Rav Nachman said that, it's only his slave Dari. Demir could be kuvi. You know what he does for a living? He's a clown that jumps in the stores. That's really not a lot of value. But a different slave that actually works, miyomar. That he said, person goes and takes the slave of his friend, if the slave is not doing any other work, and he makes him do work, it's okay, it's potter. Why is it potter? He doesn't want a slave to be a butler, to be sitting down idle, not doing anything. That's only if you're not a lender. But if you're doing this, it looks like ribbis. Someone lives in the chutz of his friend without his permission. Ain't to pay him, as we saw before. If he lends him, you have to pay him. And then he says, I changed, you're right, it's something wrong I'm doing. And here it's a very interesting, it's one of the cases that we have, that you have a son giving mussar to his father, right? Rav Yosef bar Chama did it. Rabbi, his son, told him, what are you doing? Is a son allowed to tell his father what to do? So this goes into it. One simple answer is a son can be miramis. Didn't actually go, it's like learn more of the sugya, didn't really tell him what to do, but it is a problem when we see in the Gemaras a son giving mussar to his father. So we will stop over here. This is basically the end of this daf. And just to mention one more thing, just as we conclude over here, the idea with the slave, right? The idea of the slave is the problem that if the slave is working for the lender, you have your ribbis. He's taking the slave as collateral, he's going to get back his money, plus he has a ribbis on top of that. Now what happens if he gives a discount to it? So this is going to go back to the beginning of this daf, where we learned that a person cannot go and we learned in the daf, he can't be in the chutz of his friend. Rashi brings, the last Talmud, Rashi brings the problem of nechiyasa. Nechiyasa is we're going to learn the come on. A lot of what the Rashi takes to discuss over in this daf has to do with the Gemara, Gemaras later. So the Gemaras later we'll see in daf Ayin Beis, so they call nechiyasa. A person goes, takes the property of his friend, and he gives him a discount for the fact that he's living there. So Rashi says over here, why don't you say, so can a person live in somebody's house and give him a discount? And by us, we said, you can't live with a friend, you can't take less rent, you have to, Rashi learns, that's where the Rashi points out at Kavashmalan, if you look at previous Abud, to be able to you live from here, Shasula voice albais, can't live in the house, or Dubur Afilu Bechiyasa. Right? So you can't do it. So Rashi says, what about the Gemara Lakamot, the Ayin Beis? So Rashi says, because there are sometimes he's going to lose it, here is different. Torah has a different pshat, and the Beis we'll get back to, we'll address it when we get to Daf Ayin Beis. But this is one of the big discussions that come from the Daf, is what happens if I give you a discount for the fact that I can take you over the Chatzar, or take you over the Eved. B'Sei Gobel will continue from here at the next daf.